When I was 7 years old, I had the need for speed. I loved cars of all types. I loved red cars, blue cars, yellow cars, but my favorite car was the Nissan 300ZX. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a two-seater heater. I'm talking 300 horsepower, all-wheel steering. I'm talking twin turbo. I'm talking T-tops. It was something special. And so, when my parents asked me, Amin, what do you want? What do you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for? It was simple. I wanted a 300ZX. Now, of course, I was 7 years old, so I couldn't drive a real one. I wanted a Power Wheels. Now, if you don't know what a Power Wheels is, it's like a miniature car, one that you could actually sit in, one that had keys that when you turn, the car would go vroom, and it would have a steering wheel, and it would have pedals, and you'd be able to drive it all around your neighborhood. And I knew that I wanted one because I had a friend named Ali who had one too. He wasn't very nice about it. He'd come over to my house, he'd honk the horn, I'd come out, I'd say, hey, Salam Ali, and then he would press the gas and go vroom and leave. Can you believe that? Sometimes when I'd be sitting out on my porch reading a book, I would hear his car come across and be like, vroom, vroom, vroom. And he'd be like, Amin, you want to come for a ride? And I'd be like, sure. And I'd put that book down and I'd run over to him. But before I'd get to the car, he'd press the gas and go vroom. It wasn't very nice. I wanted a 300ZX so bad. So I prayed for it. But you know what? I never got that 300ZX. I never got one that was a Power Wheels. And the reason why I'm telling you that story is because today on Around the World Storytime, sponsored in part by Helping Hands for Relief and Development, we're talking about something called Insha'Allah. Because here's the thing, sometimes people might think to themselves, well, I said Insha'Allah, so that means I better get it. Well, is that the way it always works? And in order for us to explore this concept, we are welcoming an amazing author all the way from across the pond in the United Kingdom named Hafsah Dabiri. Assalamu alaikum, Hafsah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? The treat is all mine. Now, how are you doing right now?
Alhamdulillah. Honestly, that story just brought me back memories of my childhood, I think, and not saying Insha'Allah and not getting the Eid gift that I wanted as well. But Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Alhamdulillah.
Can I tell you, I was thinking about it because we are nearing the Nights of Power. I literally was thinking about this last night. I remember one time I was a kid and my sister came and she says, okay, Amin, let's work on your du'as. What do you want from Allah? I was like, anything? And she's like, yeah, anything. I was like, well, I want a stretch limousine. I want a Power Wheels. I want a room full of lasagna. And I remember my sister was like, what is this guy doing? Come on, pray for Jannah. Amin, what? No, what are you doing? But that actually happened. So Sister Hafsah, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Oh, well, I'm a student first and foremost. I'm still at university studying, but I'm also a children's book author. So I've written my first book called Basirah, the Basketballer Says Insha'Allah. And I do a lot of work just traveling, telling the story and working with kids as well. So it's been amazing. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And I have to tell you, Sister Hafsah, and I have to tell your audience, we have a, mashallah, beautiful collection of children's books at home. And Sister Hafsah, I was really excited to invite you for Around the World Storytime because Basirah the Basketballer Says Insha'Allah is a wonderful, wonderful story. And I cannot wait for everyone to listen to it. It's amazing. And I remember when I read it the first time, I put it down. I was like, man, Hafsah's a good author. And then I actually Googled you because I was like, how do I invite Hafsah to join our Noor Kids team? Like, let me find her email address. I couldn't find it though. but alhamdulillah, we're able to meet.
Alhamdulillah.
Don't tell Asma I said that, but now it's on live, so everyone knows it. But yeah, Sister Hafsah, anytime you want to come join Noor Kids, we'd be happy to have you. So anyways, without any further ado, let's get into reading this very first story that I just literally cannot wait for everyone to benefit from. as Sister Hafsah is grabbing the book, I just want to remind everyone that Around the World Storytime is brought to us through the support of Helping Hands for Relief and Development. As we are getting ready for these last 10 nights of Ramadan, as we are thinking about charity, which is such an important part of our faith as Muslims, Helping Hands is doing exceedingly wonderful work across the world, specifically, for example, sponsoring orphans and things like that. Do consider Helping Hands for Relief and Development as you are considering your zakat and your sadaqah this Ramadan. All right, with that, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sister Hafsah, it is all yours.
Oh, okay, Bismillah. So the story is called Basirah the Basketballer Says Insha'Allah. I'm going to hold it up so that you can see the amazing illustrations as well. So, a basketball player who never missed a single practice or game. She loved to duck, run, spin and jump on the court. She would race towards the hoop, dodging past all the other players, while her best friend Kafaya shouted, "Basirah is the best!" One day, while Basirah was training after school, she kept trying to score from the free throw line. After 2 hours of basketball practice, she still hadn't landed a single shot. Coach Halima called the girls into a circle for a team meeting. "Well done today, girls. On Friday, I'll be announcing the team captain for this year. I'll choose the player who has shown the most responsibility, organization, and team spirit." Make sure you remember those 3 characteristics: responsibility, organization, and team spirit. All night, Basirah dreamt about ducking, running, spinning, and jumping on the court. She got tangled in her bed sheets. In the morning, she ran downstairs. "I'm going to be the captain of the basketball team," she announced. "Congratulations," her dad said. "When did this happen?" "Well, it hasn't happened yet," Basirah quickly replied, "but it will." Dad laughed. "I think you forgot to say Insha'Allah." "Oh yeah," Basirah replied. "What does that mean again?" "It means if God wants it to happen, it definitely will." "Definitely, Insha'Allah, Insha'Allah, Insha'Allah," Basirah shouted. In first period, Mr. Field handed out a geography quiz. Basirah looked at her paper and thought, "I want to test if saying Insha'Allah really works." She whispered, "Insha'Allah, I will get the perfect grade." Basirah zipped through all of the questions, quickly jotting her answers down so Mr. Field could mark her quiz on the spot. She got all of the answers right. At lunchtime, Basirah stood at the end of a long line of students in the cafeteria. She was afraid that she wouldn't get any dessert, so she whispered, "Insha'Allah, I will get a dessert." She tapped her foot impatiently as the line inched forwards. When she finally got to the front, there was one pudding cup left, and it was all hers. After school, Basirah went to the court before team practice. She stood at the free throw line and then whispered, "Insha'Allah, this ball will go into the hoop." She dribbled the ball and aimed for the hoop and hurled it in with all of her might. The ball soared across the court and whoosh, landed smoothly in the middle of the net. Basirah jumped up and down and yelled, "It works! It works!" Kafaya was nearby helping a group of players learn how to pass the ball. "What works?" she asked. Basirah laughed and said, "Kafaya, Insha'Allah, I'm going to be the team captain." So do we think she's going to be the team captain?
I don't know.
Let's find out. So on Friday, after school, Basirah raced to the basketball court. The girls were huddled around Coach Halima. "Well done, girls," Coach Halima said. "It was a difficult choice, but I finally made my decision. The person I've chosen to be the captain has shown that she can be a true leader. She is responsible, organized, and supportive of her teammates." Kafayat! Kafayat? Basirah's jaw dropped.
What?
"But everybody knows I'm the best player of all," she thought. Basirah got up without a word and ran off the court. A few minutes later, she arrived at home in tears. "What happened, Basirah?" her dad asked. I'm not the team captain, she said. Coach Halima chose Kafaya. You said I would be the team captain if I said Insha'Allah. Basira sobbed into her dad's shirt. I just don't understand. Yesterday, my Insha'Allah worked in class and in the cafeteria. It even helped me land a shot from the free throw line. But today, it didn't work. Dad wiped Basira's tear-stained cheek with his thumb. Insha'Allah isn't a magic word that makes your wishes automatically come true, he said. But it's a word that reminds us to work as hard as we can and then trust God to give us whatever is best for us. Usually, when we don't get what we want, God wants us to learn something, Dad continued. Maybe he wants us to be patient, or he wants to show us that we aren't ready yet. Sarah wiped her nose and thought about what her dad had said. She pictured herself on the court, blazing past the other players, while Kafaya passed out water bottles and helped her teammates learn new moves. Well, Basira said slowly, maybe I do hog the ball sometimes, but that's because I'm the best player. Being a great player and a great captain are two very different things, Dad said. Maybe you need to work harder to be even more responsible, more organized, and more of a team player. Basira knew that Dad was right. She'd been so disappointed that she'd forgotten all about Kafayat's feelings. What kind of teammate doesn't even congratulate her best friend, she thought. The next day, Basira woke up determined. She spent the morning baking Kafayat's favourite cherry chocolate cake and piped, "Congrats, Captain, on top." That looks yummy, but we're fasting, so I'm going to turn the page quickly.
Uh-oh.
She walked down the street to Kafayat's house and rang the doorbell. When Kafaya opened the door, Basira grabbed her in a tight hug. "You really deserve to be captain," Basira said, "and I'm sorry I didn't say so earlier." "It's okay," Kafaya said. I know you wanted to be the captain, and maybe next year you will be." At their next basketball practice, Basira patiently taught the other players how to duck, run, spin, and jump just like her. After all, the better her teammates got, the more games they'd win. At their next game, Basira chanted support for the other members of her team. "Aisha is the best, Maria is the best, Kafaya is the best." And every morning after that, Basira looked into the mirror and said to herself, "I will be a better friend and teammate today, Insha'Allah, and the team captain next year. Insha'Allah, Insha'Allah, Insha'Allah." The end.
Oh man, I really, really enjoyed that story. So, Hafsa, what motivated you to write that story? Like, what was your inspiration?
Oh, I used to play basketball. I'm 5'2", which is really, really short, but I used to play basketball. I loved playing in defense positions. And I love the feeling of just being with your teammates and being on the court and developing sort of friendships. And I also had an experience in my life where I really, really wanted something, and I thought this thing was going to be my job for the entirety of my life. And unfortunately, that didn't work out for me. And I thought, how about I combine these two experiences that have been real sort of moments where I've learned and developed myself into something where kids can also learn and develop their own self-belief and their confidence, and then also their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there's so many things that we go through in life that might not necessarily be positive experiences, but they can always be learning experiences, and that can transform them into something positive. So yeah, that was the reason why the book was written.
I really appreciate that, and I think that's really beautiful. It's so fascinating that you say that because, it's so timely, right? Because when we think about dua, when we think about prayer,
Mm,
I mean, we remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, similar to kind of like a parent, Allah's going to do what's best for us, right? So I think
yeah,
often about my baby, Kauthar, who's
mashallah.
2 years old. And so she'll see like a shiny object, like she'll see a scissors and she'll cry for it and she'll say, "I want this so bad. I want this so bad." But of course, I, as a parent, look at that scissors, and I'm like, baby, that scissors are gonna cut you, you know?
Mhm.
Let me give you something else instead. Let me give you a doll. Let me give you something else, right?
Mhm.
And so, similarly, oftentimes when we are making dua for something that we really, really want, maybe it's a 300ZX Power Wheels or a stretch limousine, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually knows that, like, look, I'm going to give you something better. And I think having that faith and having that belief, man, Allahu Akbar, it's so powerful because then
Yeah.
anytime something happens in life, right? If, we know that we've been doing our best and we've been doing it
Mhm.
sincerely and trying to be good human beings, and if things don't work out, we believe, man, Allah has a better plan for me. And I
Yes,
trust
he does.
Allah. Why not?
Mhm.
And so it's a very beautiful story that you've written, Sister Hafsa, and I really appreciate it. So tell me, um, that decision to actually even write a book, right? Like that first decision to say, hey, you know what? I'm going
Mhm.
to write a children's book. Like what motivated you to write a children's book? Where did the idea come from?
I think I've always been a writer. I think that writing is very cathartic. So I'd always write for myself. I'd never published anything previously. I'd just been like, I have an experience and I have a certain feeling, and I want to write about it currently. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I want to write something and I want to be able to release it to the world. I want it to be something that's really authentic to me. So I thought, let me write something that describes my experiences and things that I've learned in life. And so I was like 18 years old or 19 years old. Um, and I just sat down and I was like, you know what, I'm going to write this. And I wrote it. It took me about half an hour because it was literally just a story that had been in my mind for a while. And then I sent it off to different publishing companies, and then Rukaya's bookshelf Asma responded, and she loved the book. So, alhamdulillah, since then it's just been an upward journey.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That's really wonderful. So now, um, tell me a little bit about the characters in the book, right? So how did you decide on the look and the feel of each of the characters?
So I think for me growing up, I didn't have a lot of children's books, especially Islamic children's books, with kids that looked like me. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I want to write a book for kids like me. I want to write a book for my siblings, for the kids that inshallah I'm going to have. And so Basirah's character was actually called Baraka the basketballer, which is my middle name. And my mom was like, change it. Just make it a different name. So we went with Basirah, but the character is sort of like based off of my life experiences. And then the best friend, Kafaya, is actually my best friend.
Oh
She's
wow.
actually my best friend since primary school. So that character is based off of her, and she actually did support me in the beginning stages, all the way through to the end of when I was playing basketball and netball, going to tournaments and going to different games. She would be there all of the time. So she genuinely was shouting Basira is the best during my life, alhamdulillah.
That's awesome.
And then the dad figure as well was quite important to me to have that representation of fatherhood. I think within a children's book is really important because you don't necessarily get that all the time. Because both my parents have been extremely supportive, but my dad as well has been extremely. Every time I've said like I want to do something, he'd just be like, "Okay, have a plan, and we can make it work," kind of thing. No
MashaAllah.
matter what it was, alhamdulillah, he was kind of that figure in my life. So I thought, you know what, let's write these characters into the book, and hopefully just allow it to be more representative of a more diverse community, inshallah.
MashaAllah, I really, really love that, and I appreciate your sharing that. Although it's kind of funny because Kafia in the story is your like actual best friend, but I'm curious. I mean, you made her out to be such a bad person, and like it's kind of weird that you would have done that to your best friend. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, Kafia was great. Kafia was great. So, that piece on representation, it's such a big deal. I'll tell you. When we started Noor Kids and we had to decide on the characters within Noor Kids, and I'll just show you, like, in case you haven't seen it before, you'll notice there's four
Mhm,
characters: Amin, Shireen, Asad, and Amira. They're animals.
mhm,
And it's kind of interesting because when we started, right, the goal was we wanted to provide Muslim children with role models, and role models are a really important way to like teach and to grow. But the reality is,
mhm,
is like, who are Muslims? Like, Muslims are not all Pakistani, they're not all Arab, they're not
mhm,
all Egyptian, they're not all Nigerian, they're not all black, they're
mhm,
not all Asian, they're all of the above.
mhm,
And so, in order for us to create characters that, because you rightly pointed out, unfortunately, right? And we've been doing around the world story time. I'm not proud of this, but Sister Hafsah, I think of the 20 sessions that we've done, I don't I don't even know how many of those sessions had an African American or Black character in it. I think
Mm,
there's a couple of them that did, right? And many of them it might be ambiguous, but
mhm.
I think it's very important that we have children's books. And by the way, having children's books that have Black characters in them are not just for Black children. That's for
Exactly.
everybody, right? Because I need my daughter and all of our children to appreciate the breadth of diversity within our faith that is so special.
Mhm.
And at a young age, we have to, realize that, the people who are Muslim are not just the people in my masjid here in Minnesota. No, we're all Muslim. And that's what makes our ummah so special. That's what makes our Muslim community
Yeah.
so special. So Sister Hafsah, Allahu Akbar. Again, there's so many layers of why I really, really appreciate this book. Now, if somebody wants to buy this book, how do they get it?
Ruqaya's bookshelf is the best place to go. Very
And
trustworthy in terms of delivery and everything. So,
so it'd be
literally,
RUQAYS, ruqayyasbookshelf.com.
mhm,
All right. And it would be over here. And alhamdulillah, we've been a big supporter of Sister Asma's work. She has a great track record. Alhamdulillah, most of the books
mhm,
on there are ones that we really appreciate as well. And most of the authors who are there are authors that we're trying to recruit. No, I'm kidding, but kind of. Anyways, all right. All right, we'll talk about that later. But Sister Hafsah, I'm challenging you. I want to challenge you. Do you have a piece of
oh
paper
no,
and a pen or a pencil?
I can get one.
Okay.
Okay, I've got one.
All right. So I'm challenging you, all right, to um, Baraka the Brainstormers challenge. All right.
Okay.
So now here's the way it's going to work. All right. I am going to put 1 minute on the clock. All right. And your job and my job are to brainstorm, okay, for things that we would ask from Allah. All right.
Okay.
Now, again, this is very broad, and you're thinking to yourself, but of me, and you're the one who's coming up with the challenge. This isn't fair. You've been thinking about this all day, and the reality is I have been. So, the way that we're going to make it even is, Sister Hafsah, you have to pick the letter, and then we have to think of things that we would ask Allah for that start with that letter.
Oh God. Oh, okay. Oh, so I don't know if I should make it easy or hard for myself.
It's for both of
Let's,
us. It's for both of us.
yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with F.
F like as in Frank. Okay,
Yeah.
ready? All right, starting now. All right, I'm off to a pretty good start. Oh, I got a good one here.
Can it be a sentence that begins with
You can,
an
but a
F?
sentence feels like it's going to take a lot of time to write. Um, this is
Oh.
good. I don't think you're going to be able to catch up with me on this one. I don't think so. It's too good. Um,
Oh, I'm struggling now. Um,
um,
this 1 minute seems really long.
okay, all right. Time's over, but I'm just going to finish the word. All right. So, Sister Hafsah,
Yeah,
in the Baraka, the brainstormer praise, how many did you get?
10.
You got 10. That's
Yeah.
really, really good. That's really, really good. Wow. I mean, I got 12, but 10 is still really good. That's really good. All right. So, Sister Hafsah, let's start. What did you get?
Okay, food is at the top of the list because I'm fasting.
Okay. No, that's fine. And okay,
Okay.
just so people know, it is approximately 12:30 here in Minnesota, and it
Hmm.
is like 6:30 for you. So you've been fasting
Yeah.
for about 6 hours longer than me. Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, so we understand that now. So what did you get?
So there's more food to follow. So fresh fruit and fresh vegetables.
So a lot of
Um,
fresh.
yeah, we're just gonna basically. There's like five out of my 10 is food. Then
Wait, but say all of them. Do they all start with fresh?
no, then there's French pastries.
Oh, okay, very nice.
Okay, and then we've got friends, and then family to be blessed. Freedom for those people who are suffering. A
Mm.
Ferrari just because it's an F, and then I'll
Yeah,
probably get
why
it,
not? Why not?
and then sell
Just
it,
say
and then
in
just use the money for
just
something
say
else.
inshallah. Just say inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then to be feeling happy all the
Mm.
time. Inshallah. Yeah, that's all my prayers.
Oh, very good, very good. All right, so I'll tell you mine. Mine were fairly simple. All right, so I did first friends, then I did
Mhm.
family, then I said for faith, like more iman, right? Then I
Ooh,
said,
okay.
prayer for fun, so that way I have fun in my life. All right. I
Mhm.
prayed for fashion because if you look at my shirt,
Mm.
I kind of need I need a little bit more. All right. Then I prayed for a foosball table. A foosball table is like, a
Okay,
little
yeah.
foosball. Okay. Then
Mhm.
I prayed for furry animals, right? Not just any
Okay.
animals, but like a furry animal, okay? Then I prayed for famous books, like, for your book to become famous,
Mm.
okay?
Okay.
Then I prayed for fool. Fool is like a type of beans that like Arab people
Mhm.
eat for breakfast. Okay.
Yep.
Then I prayed for football success. Like, for us, football is American football, like the Minnesota Vikings. You guys have like
Mhm.
Manchester United, whatever. And then I prayed for a fabulous hereafter.
Oh, mashallah. I like that one. That last one
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah, you've
so,
won. You've won.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, what can I say? Look, I mean, I may or may not have been practicing. What can I say? All right. Well, Sister Hafsa, on behalf of myself and on behalf of Helping Hands for Relief and Development, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing, alhamdulillah. Really nice to break up the day with this amazing show. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put his barakah in it and reward all of you guys for your hard work as well.
Ameen, ameen, inshallah. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to thank you for joining us for for Around the World Storytime, as we have met some of the most amazing Muslim authors in the world. Join us tomorrow as we have another amazing author for you to meet. With that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.